I reminisce about the love we had. I reminisce about the love we had. Tender moments seem to go so fast. Reminisce, reminisce. I reminisce about the love we had. I reminisce about the love we had. A love so strong it will never pass.
Love Park Connection.
Hey everyone.
Hey you guys.
How you doing? So today we are going to be talking about egos in a relationship.
Those in a relationship.
Before we get started though, how's your week been, babe?
It's been all right. I mean, trying to deal with a few things. A friend of mine passed away at work, so that was kind of rough.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know,
I'm
because
trying to deal with that.
you guys have been working in the same place for 30 years, over 30 years, huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
R.I.P. Mitch Pope, man.
Yeah.
That was my brother. It was one of my work brothers.
Yeah.
So,
But on the other side,
mhm.
our sister moved out, or my sister moved out. So we're again empty nesters.
Empty nesters. Yes.
Not that we were taking care of her, but
No.
we are now empty nesters and we got an extra room. So now I'm gonna turn that into my office. And I'm excited.
Your office
Slash recording studio.
Not
Was-
recording,
okay,
no.
studio.
Podcast
studio. Yeah, so that's exciting getting that together.
You can stop commandeering my studio.
I know, but I appreciate you doing this.
Which I don't mind. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
What
It's just not gonna sound as good though.
It's gonna sound better.
Nah.
I still got the best engineer, so it always gonna sound great.
That's true.
My baby.
You're right. You're right about that. I'll give you that one.
So, but first, before we get started, let us introduce ourselves. Welcome to Love Park Connection, where we talk about the pains and pleasures of life, love, and relationship. My name is Angela Parker.
And I'm Pierre Parker.
And we are a husband and wife marriage and relationship coaching duo. We've been married for 27 years, together for over 30 years. And it is our goal to help Black couples communicate more, love more, and build healthy long-term relationships. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We are building our audience, and we'd love to have you join us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we're going to talk about egos in the relationship.
So that's the episode today?
Yeah, that's the episode today. Why are you getting smart?
I was just making sure we put emphasis on what the episode was today.
The episode is egos in relationships. That's what I said in the beginning, right?
Okay.
I'm
just double checking it, just making sure.
So, baby, do you have an ego in our relationship?
Of course I do.
And what's your ego in the relationship? How does your ego come forth in our relationship?
I mean, everything is working out fine for us, right? So my ego is a big reason.
No. Okay. No. Your ego is when you don't want to say I'm sorry when we get into an argument. That's where your ego comes out. You don't have a big ego for the most part, but that's when it comes out. And as you're getting older and grumpier, your ego's starting to come out.
I'm feeling kind of judged right now. And
that's a part of my ego, judging.
That's a part of your ego, yeah. Judging it. Judge Angela over here.
So, what does it mean when we talk about egos in relationships? So we know that egos in any relationship can cause conflict and communication problems.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to go about putting those egos aside, it takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight, is trying to, of course, look at your partner's side and put yourself in their shoes, but also being more empathetic and active listening to what your partner's trying to say, avoiding blame and being defensive, and being open to feedback, apologizing sincerely, Yes, I know.
Hmm.
And just like we talked about before, choosing your battles. And that's a part of the ego because if you're always ready to go into battle, there's
Hmm.
something in your ego that you feel you have to win.
Yeah.
Um, like luckily we've kind of crossed over that and we can choose our battles except today
Yeah.
when we were disagree. Well, I said we have to agree to disagree on this topic just before we came on to do this podcast because you
Yeah.
was doing too much.
We get into some juicy topics that we
Mm-hmm.
have to agree to disagree on, which I can't stand that. Agree to disagree. I'm like, no, no,
It's ego. There it
we gonna
goes.
fight this one out.
See, there's
We
that
gotta
ego.
have a winner.
See,
And
see.
I didn't say I had to be the winner. I said we have to have a winner. See, that's the ego
Mm-mm.
part. The ego
That,
part is saying
mm-hmm,
I don't mind.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
So because I was looking up before we came on just to get some ideas on this topic,
Mhm.
because I know from our perspective what ego is,
Yeah.
but there was one, it said ego versus high self-esteem. And in your opinion, is that one and the same, or do you think it's two separate personality traits?
Uh, to me, I would think that would be two different personality traits. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think, high self-esteem, I think that can be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have high self-esteem, I mean, as long as you're not letting it just, you like, I'm the SHIT and that's it and that's all and everything.
Well, then that becomes an ego. So
True,
yeah, you're
yeah.
right. So an egotistical person's self-worth is driven by external factors,
Mhm.
primarily feedback from others, and a person with high self-esteem has a sense of self-worth which is determined by internal factors such as a passion or belief or your own personal vision of yourself.
Yeah.
So there is that difference, and yeah, there's a difference in personality traits. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
people with big egos are often insecure and trying to cover up those insecurities by being or pretending they're more important or better than everyone else. So,
Been there and done that before with some people.
okay, I don't know who you're talking
Oh,
about.
yes, you do.
Oh.
Very much so.
Okay.
Not you, by
I
no
know
means.
not me.
No, not you. Just
No,
some other
I
people
know
in the
not me.
past.
Oh, okay.
And some
In
other
the
people
past,
in the
you've been
past.
with me forever. Are you talking about friends?
Not friends.
Oh, I was about to say
No,
you've been with.
not in a relationship type
Oh,
thing. No, just chapter of my life
oh,
that you were a part
oh,
of.
yes. Okay, never mind.
Yes.
Gotcha. Um, and so those with big egos, they lack confidence for the most part. I'm not going to say everybody because that's generalizing, but for the most part, folks who have those big egos lack
Well,
confidence.
well, also
What?
people with big egos, I wouldn't say they lack confidence. I would say a lot of times they're overconfident.
But isn't that just having a high self-esteem?
No, not to me. No,
Not necessarily.
no. You can be high. You can have high self-esteem, and that makes you,
Humble.
it keeps you. It has you. You can be humble and have a high self-esteem. You have
True.
high
High
self-esteem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I take you as an example because when you're on the stage and you're doing what you are good at
Mhm.
and thrive in, there's a lot of confidence.
Mhm.
But you've always been a very humble musician. You don't have that huge ego like some of the musician friends that I'm sure are musicians that
Yeah.
but you're great at what you do,
Mhm.
but you still
Thank you.
have that. You're welcome. You still have that confidence, but you also are still very humble.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There are a lot of people that I've met throughout my life and journey, especially through the martial arts and stuff, that were very humble,
mhm,
and they had high self-esteem.
mhm.
And then there were some that were, very confident about themselves, but they
Their egos
their
got in the way.
egos was just
Okay.
just ridiculous.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I can see that where it's not necessarily lacking
Mhm,
self-confidence, but I mean, but there still are those, especially I would think in a relationship,
mhm,
if you lack that self-confidence about, say, really your relationship, or maybe you just not sure how how this person feels about you. Maybe
mhm,
there's that lack of confidence, but you don't want to show that. You don't want to show that, oh, I'm insecure about what's going on in our relationship.
yeah.
So you have this ego
Yeah,
trying to cover up,
trying to cover it up.
trying to cover it up.
Exactly. I
So,
think that's the problem that a lot of people have. If you're a ego-driven person outside of a relationship, once you get into a relationship, you definitely gonna bring that in there,
mm-hmm.
and that's where you don't need to have the ego. Um, you really don't, as far as being in a relationship, an ego is a relationship killer, really, to
Yeah.
me.
No,
You
it
know.
is. It is. I mean, and I think at some point in the beginning, maybe depending on the ego, it can be attractive or exciting to your partner, but then
Mhm.
after a while, I'm sure it gets like, "Oh, okay, you're doing too
Yeah.
much."
Say, I think that's what women. I think women get all attracted over the ego driven men and all that stuff. I don't know about men being attractive over
A
ego
woman,
driven women.
but they like a woman with the high self-esteem, right?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We like a woman that takes care of themselves, that thinks, somewhat highly of themselves
Mm-hmm.
and others.
And
And others, themselves and
and
others.
others, right? It's not just
You
about
know.
themselves,
Yeah.
because that goes back to ego.
There you go.
So it's that fine line that can cross over from self-esteem to ego,
Yeah.
depending on the person.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
So it was interesting. I was reading online this blog, She Knows,
Mhm.
and she was talking about, or the blog was talking about the different types of egos,
Mhm.
and some of them I really didn't look at as egos, or I didn't really think, that was considered an ego.
Mhm.
But one of them was hanging. It was titled "Hanging On,"
Mhm.
and it talked about how people or a person will remain in a bad relationship because their ego won't let them accept um that her judgment of her partner's character was wrong.
Mhm.
So she'll just, or he or she will stay in the relationship
Mhm.
even if the relationship is going bad.
Mhm.
And it, because the ego is being bruised, and you can't accept that that we are less attractive or desirable than, say, our partners, they have another female on the side.
Yeah.
So your ego is holding on because you're like, You couldn't possibly be cheating on me. Even though I know you are,
Yeah.
you couldn't possibly be cheating on me." So that's where that hanging on to
Uh,
the relationship,
uh,
and that's ego driven.
mm.
And I mean, like I said, I didn't even think of that as being ego driven. I just
I
thought of
didn't
it.
think about it that
Right.
way either. But
Right.
now that I think about it, it could also work the other way.
Mhm.
A person could be like, well, I'm not I'm not gonna be the first in this relationship to be like, nah, it's over. No,
Right.
I'm a hold on, and
Right.
I'm a see. I ain't gonna be the first to throw in the towel. That ego may be stopping them from doing that.
Could it, but how do you, but then there's the ego part of it, but what about if if it's just because you truly care about this person and truly love them,
Mhm.
that you don't want to let go?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but does that part? I don't know if that falls under ego part.
No,
The ego
no,
part
that's
of
just
that.
I
That's
love you
just
and I don't
yeah.
want
I just
I don't
baby,
want to let you
baby,
go.
don't go. No, no, baby, don't leave me. No.
What about
Yeah.
fear of rejection, babe? How do you think that, do you think that's an ego?
I
Fear of
think
rejection?
I
Fear
think
of rejection?
I think fear of rejection can fall under the ego part of it because that person fear rejection can bruise these egos.
Right.
That's an ego killer as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the people are they worried about feeling that rejection like that, and that's what and getting their ego bruised and beat up from that rejection. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think.
I don't. I guess I don't see how, and maybe I need to think about it more, but I don't see how fear of rejection is really an ego. Maybe I guess when I think of ego, I think of always the cocky so and so,
Well, that's what I'm
whereas fear
saying.
of rejection is
Well,
not being cocky, it's being you're
well, think about it.
to
If
me
you
that would be low self-esteem, not an ego.
no, you fear the rejection part of it because you don't, I mean, the ego kicks in and says, "Oh man, she rejected you or she quit you or and all of that stuff or
Mhm.
however, she
Mhm.
just kicked you to the curb."
Mhm.
That messes up your ego because now all of a sudden
Okay.
your
Okay.
partners and all of them is like, "Oh, what happened? She threw you to the curb, man.
You sound like an old man. Oh
That's all
blood.
right.
Oh
My
oh
them
blood.
partners, man, my partners."
You sound like an old man. You know, you grew up in the 80s
That's
yeah,
that's
oh
right. I was 80s,
70s.
70s, and all that stuff, yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I see that. I guess my way of thinking is when you say fear of rejection, that doesn't fall under the ego, that falls under the self-esteem. But I get what you're saying. I get
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah. Because, yeah, you do have that fear of rejection. Or if if you've been dumped a number of times,
Yeah.
or if you're been in number of bad relationships,
I think the
then,
self-esteem part comes in when you start blaming yourself or trying to figure out, well, what did I do wrong to make this happen?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which you may have done nothing wrong. The person could have just been an asshole, but
Right, right.
you know,
But then again, like we always say, if this happens a number of times, you have to look at the
the
common
common denominator.
denominator.
Yep.
And usually that common denominator is
It's you.
you
Yeah.
know. I mean that and that'll
Yeah.
mess with your ego too.
That'll mess you up. Or
Yeah.
that could be a ego straightening out
Yeah.
type experience. Get your ego
Get yourself
get
together.
yourself together.
Go sit down and think about yourself.
That's
Huh?
right. Yeah.
Oh, so what do you think are some of the ways to help folks put their ego in check? There's so many different, in relationships, there's so many different forces coming at you in your relationship. What do you think some of the ways, especially for the ego, to put your ego in, put it in check?
Um, I think one of the ways is, really you need to think about that other person's perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, think about when you start getting into different discussions and all of that stuff, and you want to really, like we said,
Mm-hmm.
with the discussion we was having, we just said we just gonna agree to disagree.
I said
I
that.
mean, yeah,
You said, and your ego is
I
like,
know you said, I
no.
know, but even though my ego was like, no, we got to keep going, you know, I was like, okay, we're just gonna leave it at that. We're gonna agree to disagree, whatever, or we'll come back to it another time like we usually
Nah,
do.
you not.
But
Yeah, but you was trying to get me all worked up before I come and do
yeah,
this
but still,
podcast.
but I shut it down. I shut it down. The ego was trying to say, no, man, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I had to tell myself, no, we gonna chill. We're gonna chill on this one. So that's what I'm saying. We gotta let that ego, you gotta sit and have a talk with that ego and be like, hey
Yeah,
man, we
let
gonna
it go.
chill on this.
Right,
It's kind of like picking your battles,
right,
like we brought up
right,
before.
right. And
Pick
it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight, especially if
oh
you're
man.
young and you're in a new relationship. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to be aware of what your triggers are
Yeah.
and and aware of where your ego is because everybody has different different areas in their lives where
Hmm.
their egos flare up and you have to be really aware of
Yeah.
what makes your ego flare up and then reel it in when it's
Yeah.
going too far, but that takes practice
Yeah.
and conscious thought
And see, there's a
behind it.
lot of people that'll sit there and go, well, I need you to hear my point. I
Hmm.
need you to hear me. I need
Hmm.
you to understand me and things like and sometimes it's not about that,
Hmm.
you know. Sometimes you just gotta be like, okay, well, they're stuck on what they're gonna think about and
Hmm.
I'm stuck on what I'm gonna think about,
Right.
and we're gonna be at this this stalemate, so let me just shut it down.
Right.
Let me set this. My ego keeps saying keep going, but let me just chill. Let me tell my ego to chill. But we don't get enough of that.
No, we
so
don't.
then you end up having people that get into these arguments, and
Right.
then it turns, into worse stuff. And it was probably something really petty, like what we was discussing.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I think another thing people need to, in relationships, practice, and that is empathy. And it, just like what you're saying, it's, try to understand your partner's perspective and their feelings, even if it differs from your own.
Exactly.
So that's practicing that empathy, saying, okay, I might not agree or understand what you're talking about or why you're feeling the way you're feeling, but I'm not going to keep pushing the issue because I'm trying to understand and be respectful of your feelings. And I think more people need to do that on both sides, not just men for women, but women for men.
Yeah.
Because women, we act like we don't have egos, but we have egos as well. And we need to learn to practice practice that empathy. And it helps you connect on a deeper level and then find common ground. And you're not going to always agree, and that's fine, but take the ego out of it and learn to just try and see your partner's perspective, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing we always talk about, you got to active listening. You got to really listen to what your partner's saying, not just hear the superficial words or not say, oh, I hear him talking, but this is what I want to say, because that really doesn't help. And that's another thing that you have to practice. That doesn't happen overnight. Active listening doesn't happen overnight. It comes with practice. I still have to, work at sometimes listening to what you're saying before I jump in and have to, say what I want to say.
Yeah.
So
same here.
Yeah. I mean, and again, all of this takes practice.
Yeah.
But if you really care about this person, then you're going to work at those different types of, those different things to better your relationship.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we have to start doing as couples is the blame game.
Yeah.
And being so defensive.
Yeah. Don't blame.
Mm-mm.
Don't blame. Avoid blaming.
Yeah. And that's hard. I mean, it is hard because you want to point the finger because you pointing the finger back at you. What? It's not my fault. That's his fault. But, if there's a common thread or a common thing that you guys are constantly arguing about, sometimes you got to point the finger back at you and say, okay, why do we continue to argue about the same thing over again? And maybe, or if I'm the one always starting this argument, maybe I need to look at myself and figure out what's going on within myself that's causing this argument to continue to flare up. Again, there's that ego part of it. So, we've got to learn to avoid the blame and being so defensive. Like we talked about in the past about, you'll say something to me, maybe about what I'm wearing, and I'll get defensive. And I have to look and say, why am I getting so defensive or getting so upset? I mean, there's some things like when you're trying to fix my hair because I'm having a little bald spot because my hair is getting a little thin in my old age. But that's like, I can't do nothing about that. I'm working on it. But anyway, I digress. I do get defensive about that. I admit, I'm not going to lie. And what about feedback? How do you think, you think feedback is positive and healthy in a relationship? And
well, when you say feedback, you mean
being open to feedback.
Yeah.
That
Exactly. That basically being open to feedback is like taking constructive criticism. It's the same thing.
Right.
So, and constructive, and what people don't understand is they miss whenever they hear constructive criticism, they miss the most important part of that. Constructive.
Right.
Which is helping,
right.
building.
Right.
They just hear criticism.
Right.
And it's not it's not that. Constructive criticism is when somebody gives you constructive criticism. Now, there are haters out there that will give you some constructive criticism, and you do have to kind of question it.
Right.
But
is it really constructive?
Yeah. But when it's coming from somebody that loves you and cares about you,
Yeah.
then the constructive criticism that they're giving you is something that they're trying to help you with.
Right.
So, and in relationships, and that's the biggest thing that can help an ego as well, is the constructive criticism. If your partner is telling you, you know, you got to calm down on some things when you talking to certain people a certain way,
Right.
Then you should listen, because
Yeah.
this is the person that cares about you, and this
Yeah.
person sees the flaw that you need to work on,
Right.
that you can't see.
Right.
So that's the person to me that you need to pay attention to.
I know for us, because you're really good at talking to people, and I'm and I'm getting better, but I'm not the most, go out there, and you're the social butterfly.
I'm the mouth.
Yes, he's the mouth. He's a social butterfly, and I'm the one who kind of keeps him grounded.
Yeah.
Pulls him like, okay, let's go. It's time to go. No, they're finished talking to you. Let's go. But you have taught me, and you have told me throughout the years, you need to be more willing to talk to people. You need to be more open, blah, blah, blah. Because I hate small talk. And you told me, but small talk is how you start getting into conversations with people, and you never know what doors those people can open for you.
Exactly.
So that's one of the constructive criticisms you've given me throughout the years. And in the beginning, it was hard. And sometimes it's still hard because I'm like, I'm doing it. I feel like I'm doing better, and I am, and I know that. But those are some of the that's one of the constructive criticisms that you've given me throughout the years that has taken me this long to say, okay, I'm going to listen, because clearly that's what you're good at, is talking to people, and networking with people. So that's one of the constructive criticism that I appreciate now that you've given me. It's taken some time for me to appreciate it.
Taking a long time.
Oh no. Okay. Anyway. So, those are the things, what you're talking about, constructive criticism. I do appreciate that you have taken, you're patient, but you kept saying, hey, babe, this is what, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm seeing that you're doing, and here's how to, go forth. So you're right. Constructive criticism, feedback, that's all very necessary in a relationship.
Very
on both
so.
sides, not
Yes.
just the man giving it to the woman, but the woman giving it to a man. But again, you're doing it because you love that person, not because you're criticizing. So the key word, people, constructive criticism,
constructive.
not just criticism.
Yeah.
So,
Look,
because that won't get you anywhere, just criticizing all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
Look,
So
she quick to tell me that if I'm gonna be out there and I got to cut my hair and manscape up, because look, you represent me. She put it that way. You represent me when you out there. Look.
Oh, you tell me the same thing. Stop. But I guess that's not constructive criticism, is it?
That is
No.
I would call it constructive.
You would?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess. Somebody out there probably gonna be like, that ain't constructive criticism, fool.
Right. Well, you take it the way you want to take it. You
That's
take
right.
your
That's
constructive criticism the way you want to, baby.
That's right. I'm taking it the way I want to take it.
Okay. So here's another one.
What?
Apologizing sincerely.
Oh, why we gotta go there?
Something you don't know nothing about. Oh, shoot. And we talked about this once before. We were talking about picking our battles.
Yes.
And how I said, I will say, I apologize. Even if I feel like I'm right, I'll apologize. But I'm not apologizing because I feel I was wrong. I'm apologizing because I'm sorry that we had the argument. And then sometimes he's getting better. Sometimes he'll come back and say, I apologize too. But it usually takes me to say it first.
When I'm wrong.
Oh, so you're trying to say you're not wrong?
When I'm wrong, I'll come and I apologize.
So you saying that you've only been wrong 20% of the time throughout our marriage, and I'm wrong the other 80%?
I wasn't the one that just said that. I wasn't the one that just said it.
Mhm.
No, I had
Uh-huh.
to learn a lot about that. And yes, you taught me a lot about that.
Mhm.
You actually, you, by you being the one to apologize and all of that, actually, my ego kicked in. Another way, look, this is the strange way. My ego kicked in one time. What kick started me to start saying, I apologize.
Uh-huh.
My ego kicked in and was like, look, fool, just go apologize, man. Just and that way you can say you won the argument or you ended the argument.
Oh, so it was oh, so your ego was on overdrive.
My ego told me to look at it that way, and I was like, yeah, that's a cool way to do it.
Oh,
I
so
think
you
I'm gonna do
apologized
it.
just because
I'm just
uh,
playing.
so an apology wasn't even sincere. It says apologize sincerely.
Well, I
Don't
mean,
apologize.
I apologize sincerely. It's just my ego had me look at it a different way to go on.
Do not take that well. I guess if that gets you to apologize sincerely to your significant other, I guess you could look at it that way. I wouldn't look at it that way, but whatever.
But no, I started looking at different things differently.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, yeah, nah, let me stop tripping, dude.
Yeah.
Let me kick the ego to the side.
Yeah,
And
because when you apologize sincerely, when you make a mistake, apologizing genuinely and taking responsibility for your action,
yeah,
you know, also it avoids the temptations to defend your ego at the expense of your relationship. So, yeah,
true.
you need to remember to apologize more.
Yeah, you know.
Because as I get older, my ego gets bigger. I'm like, I'm not apologizing. I'm not going to
Yes,
apologize.
yes,
So we're
I
switching
know.
places.
Switching places. Look, it's bad.
Uh, So another one I really like is practice gratitude. And this is what I try and do every morning. And
Okay.
this also kind of puts your ego in check because when you practice gratitude and you practice, you say, I'm grateful for.
hmm
And every morning is I'm grateful for our relationship, our marriage, how we've been able to come together as a team and really work towards having a really good marriage.
hmm
It's taken years, it's taken time, it's taken practice, but that's what I'm grateful for,
Yeah.
So every morning, I do try to say at least 5 things I'm grateful for. And the top one is always our relationship and how we are building a great, continuing to build a great marriage.
Yeah.
So practicing gratitude
hmm
also puts you in it kicks your ego to the side,
hmm
but it also really it makes you focus on what you have in your life that's positive instead of focusing on what I don't have. And that's
Yeah.
what we as humans focus on so much what I don't have. I don't have this, I don't have that. But
hmm
practicing that gratitude
Yeah.
helps you really realize the things that you do have and to be grateful for what you already have.
hmm
And again, that helps put that ego in check.
Yeah.
So that's another one that I really like, practicing gratitude and acknowledging and appreciate the positive aspects of your partner and your relationship.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
what about taking a break? How do if your ego gets out of hand,
hmm
taking a break, going your separate ways, like we said, and
Are
picking
you
your
saying?
battles.
So are you saying relationship wise? You'd
No,
be
no,
like,
no,
or you
no.
just mean just leave the room and.
So yeah, if you take a break when needed, so if if the discussions become heated and
hmm
emotions are running high,
Oh yeah, you walk
taking
away.
a break.
Just walk on out the room. Be
And
like, yeah,
then
I can't. Let me
right,
go. And remember, that's what we talked about in another one. It's like
picking our battles, yeah.
with the picking the battles and different, and like the other one we talked about when I said, you know, ladies, if a man walks out the room,
Right.
don't follow him.
Right. Don't
Or-
let your ego get in the way
Yeah,
and
don't-
follow him. Yes.
Exactly. And the
Right.
same thing with men. If she walks out the room, don't let your ego sit there and say, well, nah, she ain't gonna walk out in front of you. How you gonna walk away from me? No,
Right.
you don't do that, because that's just gonna make
Make
it
it
worse.
worse. Right.
Let that person go on over there and cool off.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the other room and you cool off.
Right.
And then maybe you guys can come back and talk back about the situation
Yeah.
when things aren't as heated. And
Right.
then you probably will see things a little bit more clear.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's when your egos really come out, is when you are in that heat of a discussion.
mhm.
That's when the egos get big, and then you say something you'll regret later.
Yep.
You know, or maybe you won't, but most of the time you're gonna
Yeah.
regret it, and you can't take back what you've already said. You can apologize and apologize, but once it flies out your mouth and it hits that person's ears, then
it's all bad.
it's all bad. So yeah, it's best to put those egos aside, walk to different corners of the house,
Exactly.
or go for a drive by yourself, or whatever. Go for a walk
Yep.
to cool down, to think about what's going on, and then come back later and finish the discussion when the egos have calmed down.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it takes practice.
Yeah.
So, any other advice you want to give, is particularly to the brothers and their egos?
Brothers, egos is a relationship killer. Just remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, women. I mean, you could talk with the women on that. But I'm telling brothers, ego is a big relationship killer. You got to leave that at the door when you go into your relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, every now and then you can let your ego come out for certain situations to kind of help you on certain little things, but other than that, check that thing at the door.
Yeah, same,
know.
ladies, same. Because it's not just the men with the huge egos. Ladies, we have those egos as well, and we can sometimes say some things that'll cut deep,
Yeah.
and or feel some type of way, or but we have to learn that in the end, do you want your ego to run your relationship, or do you want to have and run a relationship, and your relationship end up being either very tumultuous, or you end up being lonesome by yourself and lonesome,
Yes.
or do you want to have a healthy, relationship with this person that you really care about and love? Because if you do truly care about this person and you love this person, then you are going to need to as well check that ego at the door. Because I know now women are making their own money, they're doing their own thing, so the egos are even bigger with women. I don't need a man, and that's fine if that's the way you want to think. But then when you're ready for a relationship, you still have to learn to check that ego.
Yep.
And put that ego aside.
Can you turn that ego off or turn that ego down or whatever you want to do?
Exactly. And I'm not saying you have to be submissive and all that, but you have
That's another topic.
I know. I'm gonna put that in the notes. Yeah, that's another topic. But you need to still be able to check that ego at the door when you're in a relationship, and learn to work together and, appreciate each other.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
So that is all for today, you guys. So thank you again for listening. And if you didn't get a chance to watch our videos, there's one on exes. We have, several other videos and podcasts. So please check them out.
Yep.
Please remember again to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification for new videos. And sign up for our email list at loveparkconnection.com for upcoming courses and pre-sale of my book, 30 Years and Counting. I'm just about finished writing it, so I'm hoping to launch November of this year. So yeah, please sign up again at loveparkconnection.com and to get information on the pre-sale of my book and upcoming courses. And with that being said, thank you again, you guys, for joining us.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.